Hello, everybody. So I'll be talking about loving one's bendy body. Can I stand here? Can you hear me here without a problem? Great, so I don't need to use the lectern. Don't like you, we're very tall. So I'm basically going to talk about my own personal journey of how I've fallen in love with my own bendy body, but also what it took to get there. And I want to share, this is very much so a personal journey. Everybody's journey in terms of their own bodies is going to be so individual, but I want you to think about your own bodies and whether any of this resonates with you, and how maybe some of what I'm going to say might help you with that. So just have a think about yourselves as you're doing it, and like the previous speaker said, comparison is the root of sort of lack of joy. So really do think your own body you are on your own unique journey. And it is one of those things that nobody can walk in your shoes. So do think that you are such special people. It's you know, we are all so special. So could we move to the next slide, please? Whoever is doing slides. So yeah, a little bit about me. I am the smiley face little one there. I'm a civil servant by day. I currently work for the Medicines Health and Regulatory Agency, so the vaccines agency in the UK. And so they were a little bit busy over the last couple of years dealing with the COVID pandemic. That's my day job. My non-day job is I'm a paraclimber, so I compete internationally for Luxembourg. I'm a dual national with the UK, and my husband's heading out to Switzerland tomorrow to do his competitions. So we met on the climbing wall. And my other non-day job is I'm an advocate and speaker on multiple circuits, such as this one and in various others around the country and now around the world. So childhood, are you? Woo, excellent. Remotes. Childhood. So as a kid, I was very body neutral. I was not aware of the concept of body image. I mean, have a think. When did you become aware of body image? When was it? When did it hit you that actually your body was a thing and maybe you wanted to compare it to other things? For me, as a kid, absolutely happy. Very smiley, very cheeky, and loved eating chocolate. Ooh, hello. Next slide. There we go. But that's the thing, I was an innocent child. We all were innocent. At some point in time, all of us were not aware of body image, right? And when you lose that innocence, when you become aware of that comparison of what you're supposed to be or what people are expecting you to be, that it's very hard to... Excellent. It's very hard to... Well, I mean, once you lose innocence, do you ever re-find it again? Really? So I agree with this quote. It can never be replaced. And for me, the time that happened was really around my very early teens. You know, early teens, puberty, my body had started changing. There were cultural expectations about how I should maybe cover up because I had boobs and hips that were coming about. But not only that, I was at the time competing in martial arts. And I was competing in friendly matches, and I was heading off to my first regional. And when I arrived, I got told, I'm sorry, you can't compete, you have 1.5 hands. Now, nobody in the country had told me I couldn't compete. I'd been competing all of this time. I was excited because it was my first regional. I'd gotten my starched kimono, you know, really, really chuffed. And apparently the decision had been taken 2 days before, and nobody had called my parents up. So for me, the first time I lost that innocence, that I really realized that people saw me differently, not just disabled because I was born without my right arm, but actually differently, was then, because effectively limitations were being put on me because of my body, and not because of something that was my choice or something that was my fault. So that for me was the real time I sort of not only was becoming aware of body image in the sense of, hey, I have a body and it has a shape, but actually I have a body and it's limiting me. Limiting me because of something that wasn't my fault, but it's still stopping me from doing something I want to do. It's not letting me reach my potential because of what others are saying. And as a 12-year-old, I thought it was my fault. Now, I'm much more rational about it. Teens, who has a good teenagerhood? Hormones, uncertainty, body things, pimples, hair going weird, peer pressure because, you know, everybody wants to wear a certain type of trouser and we weren't exactly affluent, so, you know, I wore whatever was coming my way, which meant I wasn't keeping up with fashion. And honestly, nowadays don't really care about fashion, but back then it was a really important thing and I couldn't be like my friends. You know, periods. In my case, my first periods lasted 2 weeks. I get a break for a week and I'd get them for 2 weeks again. So I had the weird period. But again, EDS. Then obviously EDS, which we didn't know I had at the time, joints, all the rest of it. And honestly, for me, because I didn't know I had EDS at the time and nobody really believed that something was quite wrong. People were just like, it's in your head, you're imagining things. And so for me, it was this unknown monster had come and attacked my body, and my body was failing me. And I hated my body for that. That was the first time I started using really, really negative words, like, I hate my body. I hate the fact that I'm starting to miss opportunities my friends are having. So a strong comparison about what I couldn't do compared to my more able friends. Resentment, but not at the fact that I couldn't do things, but the fact that my body was failing me and I didn't know why. And obviously everybody was like, oh, you should have turmeric, or you should try this or try that. So then there started becoming some sort of disordered eating as well, about trying to eat things that maybe might make me feel better because, you know, obviously we can all cure EDS with turmeric, right? Seriously. And then the years of hell. So in the sort of teenagerhood time, you know, EDS was manifesting. I was really starting to have health issues. At 18, my first surgeries for joints that were luxating so much that they needed to be pinned. So my thumb at 18, my thumb at 20, then my back at 22, I needed discs shaved because they'd come out of place. And at 23, diagnosed with cancer. So I really didn't have the best of start of university life. All my friends were traveling, enjoying their university time. I was spending all of my off time in hospitals or getting told something was wrong. And again, we didn't know why. EDS wasn't yet named until I moved to the UK 10 years ago. So again, it was from what I would call years of hell. And obviously with the cancer, definitely the year of hell at that one, because it was chemo, radiotherapy, 5 surgeries that summer. I mean, it wasn't great. I mean, on the spectrum of great and not great, it really wasn't great. But when I got cancer, because it was the first time I'd had something where effectively you could see that potentially death was going to come, if you see what I mean. Cancers are very different. It's very tangible. It's very real. When you go to a room and somebody tells you you have cancer, you really kind of go, oh shit, right? It is kind of one of those moments. Sorry for the swear word. So it was one of those things where in my head I was going, I don't think anything more can happen that's wrong. I really don't think I can cope with anything else. I had reached, for me, I thought rock bottom in terms of my resilience. I thought if anything else happens, I'm not going to cope. How you cope with cancer, I'm not sure. But if anything else happened on top of that, I don't think I could cope. But on top of that, I really saw my cancer as almost like a yell from my body saying, I need you. That things had been going wrong for so long that cancer happened, right? And no, it wasn't my fault. We never found the cause. There is no good reason for me to have had cancer. There's nothing genetic in my family. I seem to have won the genetic lottery in my family, so hey, maybe it's that. But for me, I saw it as an almost awakening and saying, hey, wait a minute, cancer, I have to take whatever is going on with my body more seriously. And I have to learn to be kinder to myself. Because honestly, I don't know if I'm going to get cancer again. I don't know how long I have with my body. And actually, I don't know if I'm going to regain my health. And actually, am I really going to spend all of this time with my body hating myself? Rather than just maybe enjoying the life I have left, if it is going to be limited by something life-limiting like that? And I firmly believe this, and I think from people I've heard and talked to, they say when they practice this, they believe this, that your body really does hear everything your mind says. So I kept saying, I hate myself, I hate my body. I blamed her for what she does because she was failing me. And yeah, she kept failing me. And I never really saw a light at the end of the tunnel, a positive moment. Resilience was kind of in the bin. And then after the cancer, I really did say to my body, okay, you've really, really put out a red flag here. Like, you've done something, you know, none of us were expecting. Thank you, not so much, obviously. But, you know, what can we do together? How can I work with you, body, to get better? Or to at least live better? Because I can't keep sustaining this hate-hate relationship. And I think my body responded and said, look, I've been waiting, you know? And so in another podcast I talked last year, somebody said, you refer to your body as a she. You talk to her as if she's a different person. And yes, she is. She has her own mind, and we negotiate and we get along together. And for anybody who's having a really difficult relationship with their body and their body image, sit down at an imaginary table and have a discussion with your body and ask her what's wrong and tell her what you think is wrong, or her, him, they, whichever pronoun you prefer. But like, have a chat and see what comes out of that conversation. If you're somebody who might need therapeutic support to do that, I have therapy. I really find it really helpful to just have that safe space to have those conversations. But I really find having a conversation with your body can be extremely enlightening. So things have changed, and it took a very long time from cancer 12 years ago to where I'm at today. At first it was, like you heard, I hate my body. I hate what she's done. I hate that she can't manage. I hate that I'm puking my guts up. I hate that I've lost my hair. Actually, I didn't mind losing my hair. I did mind losing my eyebrows. The hair was a bit weird, but I liked the bald head, and I really rocked the bald head. The eyebrows, on the other hand, when you're a headscarf wearer, you use your eyebrows to tell where your headscarf goes. So I didn't really have a way to do things, and yeah, it was a bit weird. On top of that, nobody in my community knew I had cancer because I wasn't really prepared to deal with things like fertility questions and inappropriate questions like that. So I kind of did my whole cancer journey on my own, with maybe 3 friends knowing and my parents and my brother who was living in Dubai. And that's it. So it was very, very isolating. And if I had any questions about my body changing due to treatments, there were very few people I could ask and very few people who got what I was going through. So it was an incredibly isolating experience. So one of the small steps I've done for myself whenever I'm going through health issues is to find support. Talk to other people who have the same conditions. They won't be going through the same thing as you, but they will at least have a similar label, can relate to some of the stuff you might be going through, will at least have a non-judgmental listening ear. If you want to do it the way I did it in the first place, was I joined Facebook groups and I lurked and I just read what other people were going through. And it's extremely helpful because then at least you don't feel so alone in what you are going through, right? If you don't have people in your own community or around you, Luxembourg is a tiny country. Not very many people with EDS. I mean, they've just created their first EDS charity last year. So woohoo, there's an EDS charity there now. But when I was growing up, I was the only limb different person that I knew who was upper limb born like me, and I was the only person who had breast cancer before the age of 40. The only breast cancer group that existed back then were people in their 60s. So anytime I complained about my symptoms, they all went, "You're too young, why are you complaining?" So that's kind of what I went through. And when my nurse did my final chemo session, she just went, "You can look at the last 6 months and go, it was just a blip in your story." Not recognizing how much that blip, that traumatic blip, had happened. The next thing is, the next small step you can start with is language. If you are negative towards your body, and I'm not judging anybody for that, I still have days where I will say I hate you, and she'll go, I hate you back, and then we'll go, right, let's go sit down and have a chat about why we hate each other. Right, that's okay. I'm all for having a duvet day and having a conversation with my body about what the heck is going on and say, I really don't like you right now. Sit down, take a piece of paper and just write it out. Have a conversation, yell into a pillow, whatever it is you need to do to get your body and yourself to that conversation, do it. And examine Become aware of your language, not just when you're talking to your body or when you're there, but passively as well. When I'm on the climbing wall competing, or when I'm saying something and I say, I can't do something, I don't say I can't do something anymore. I say I can't do it yet. I qualify that and say I can't do it because I'm not strong enough, rather than I can't do it because I don't believe in myself. So very much so start looking at the language you use around your body and ask yourself and challenge yourself, why are you quantifying why you can't do something or why you hate something? And can you change it? Is it within your sphere of control to change it? In talking to your body, you will be doing mindfulness, because you're really having a chat with yourself. You're taking time out for yourself. It's a great mindfulness activity. I don't say I do mindfulness, I just say I chat to my body. Simple. Because I can't meditate and all that stuff. Pacing, 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 pacing. Anybody with EDS, anybody who's got POTS, anybody with any of the stuff linked to EDS will have heard the pacing thing. Do the pacing. I'm really bad at the pacing. I boom and bust all the time. My hospital knows I boom and bust. That's how they treat me. They don't bother with the pacing anymore. They just go, just make sure when you bust, you have a way of supporting yourself. So boom and bust, whatever it is you do, learn your rhythm and respect your body's energy levels. And apologize if you're going to go beyond them, right? If you're tired and you know you've overcommitted yourself, tell your body you're going to give her or her, him, they a rest afterwards. Treat yourself to something nice. Binge out on that TV if you must. Whatever it is that you do, do it. And be kind, right? Because ultimately pacing is your body's way of telling you you need to rest, or you need to do something else, or you need to eat, or you need to sleep. It is your body sending you signals. It is your body yelling at you, potentially, if you really have a bad relationship, that you do need to listen to her, or him, or they, because ultimately, your body probably knows you better than you know yourself. Listen and examine why you have body image issues. The previous speaker talked about social media. For me, it was very much so cultural issues. I have hips. Yes, most women have hips. Great. But in my culture, having hips is kind of one of those things that there's a lot of body insecurity that's inherited within my culture. So if I have hips and I have boobs, I don't mind, but people around me seem to. And then there's this whole thing of needing to cover up and whatever else, and you can't wear this and you can't wear that because it might be too low a neckline or yada, yada, yada. What I'm saying is, for me, I internalized all of that, and I really thought instead of people thinking I have hips, it was I have hips that are too big and my boobs are too big. No, it's none of that. It's what other people think. It's not what I think. I appreciate my body. She's put me through a lot, but she is what she is, and she's letting me climb on a climbing wall at international level despite all of this. Dude, she's bloody amazing. People can deal with the fact that I have hips, right? So think about it. It's the same for all of you. Have a think. What messages from outside of you, from your environment, from what you're absorbing, how much of that is actually creating a change in your own inner sense of belief of who you are and how you look at yourself? And if it's something that's not good for you, chuck it. It will take time to learn to not absorb that information. But if it's not good for you, why are you absorbing it in the first place, right? Learn to step away. So conversations, social media stuff. I'm very careful with what I do on social media, but I'm also very careful what I absorb on my social media. I'm an international athlete. Yes, I need to step on scales to watch my muscle mass and things like that. But I'm very careful about when I step on the scales. I do, but I do it in a way when I'm in the right mindset for it and in certain conditions only, right? I've put a boundary down for myself to make sure I keep it healthy. Things like that. I have a very intuitive way of eating. If I'm supposed to have 100 grams of protein a day, but I fancy buttered popcorn, I'm having the buttered popcorn. That is okay. That is what my body is telling me she wants, and I'm okay with that. But it took a very long time to get there, especially in an international athlete community when everybody's obsessed with eating and body weight. Accept that there is a life beyond declining health. My health has massively changed in the last 15 odd years. It is still changing. It's crap, okay? Don't get me wrong, it's not great. But you can adapt. We are humans. We have adapted all of our lives for thousands and thousands of years. You are born to adapt. So adapt. Pick up activities that you can still do. Work on yourself. Do things that bring you joy. And it doesn't always have to be the thing that you could do, but also grieve for the stuff you have lost. It's so important to go through grief so that you can move on. Celebrate everything. For me, the other day, well, last week I had COVID. For me, I celebrate the fact that I played for 5 hours on my phone with games, because that's all I could do, right? I celebrate the fact that I got out of bed. I celebrate the fact that I managed to get better enough to come here. I celebrate the fact that I did not run into somebody in my wheelchair yesterday at the airport because I was in a bit of a rush because I thought I was going to miss my plane. Celebrate everything. Celebrate the fact that when you wake up, you're still breathing. Celebrate the fact that when you go to bed, you've had a day to live, right? But also celebrate the little things like, hey, I had a really nice bar of chocolate today, or, you know, I'm treating myself to some sushi, which I did yesterday. Like, a cup of tea, a nice TV program, whatever it is, celebrate the fact, take joy from the little things. It is really hard work to become body positive. It is, I'm not kidding you, the conversations, the yelling sessions, it is so, so hard to become body positive and to learn to love your body, right? It is hard. I'm not kidding you, it's an uphill struggle. But it is a struggle worth having because you start living in joy. You don't live in hate. And when you start living in joy, you stop using that energy for the negative stuff, and then suddenly you find you have so much more capacity to do so many more amazing things. So please, all it is a small step, a conversation with your body, something to write, a conversation with a friend, lurking on a Facebook group to get some support, whatever it is that you need to do to start on that step. You know, putting a boundary down, accepting that maybe you shouldn't be weighing yourself on a certain day because you're not in the right headspace to do it. Maybe telling a doctor that actually, I don't want to know my weight when you measure me at the hospital because I don't need to, right? It's not doing me any good today. I don't want to know, right? Maybe it's just explaining that you're not in the best headspace and the best body space and you need to just have that conversation with a professional. All of that is okay to do. It's okay to be vulnerable and it's okay to ask for help, right? But that's what I'm saying. Do it. There's the only thing that is stopping you from doing any of this and becoming body confident in yourself and body positive is you. And you can all do it. I have. And I believe everybody can because, as I said, we're all on our own unique journey as human beings who've adapted in the most amazing way. So go out there, adapt, and live lives full of joy. Thank you.